What's happening, guys? It is I, friend Grizno, bringing you another battle of beastly proportions today on Hardline Head-to-Head. Today's episode is a fight unlike any other, a true battle between two titans. I'm talking about the SA-58 OSW and the oh-so-familiar Scar H. These, of course, are two weapons available for the Enforcer class, depending on whether you're a copper or a robber. So let's get things rolling here, and we'll start by looking at the juicy deets on the SA-58 OSW. So the SA-58 will do its maximum damage of 43 inside 20 meters before damage begins to drop off, ending at 50 meters where it does its minimum damage of 25. Magazine size is 20 plus 1 in the chamber for 21 total, and reload times are 2.5 seconds when empty and 1.8 seconds with a round still in the chamber. The SA-58 fires at a rate of 650 rounds per minute, and the bullet velocity on this guy is 840 meters per second. Pretty hot. Finally, the SA-58 does have quite the kick to it, so as a result, I'm placing the recoil in probably the high area. Without putting too much thought into it, I would say that the SA-58 is probably one of the best weapons in the entire game. It allows for almost any playstyle and packs a serious punch with those damage values. The major pitfall of the SA-58 is its high recoil and low magazine size, although, to be fair, 21 bullets should be more than enough in most situations with this weapon. Before we try to pick this thing apart, let's talk about the plethora of good things the SA-58 has going for it. I know I've already mentioned the high damage output, but I really want to emphasize how amazing this weapon is, and it is mostly due to its high damage. This weapon can compete at all ranges, pretty much, save maybe extreme 40x scope style long range, and even at its minimum damage output, the SA-58 is capable of downing an enemy with only 4 shots to the chest, so that is definitely not something to scoff at. The SA-58 is also good in close quarters combat. Even with the lower rate of fire, I find it to still be extremely good, again due to the high damage it does. If you land a headshot on an enemy with this thing, it is pretty much lights out. Your follow-up shot can hit anywhere else and your enemy will be going down. Doesn't even matter if it's just pinky toe, it'll still be the kill shot. Getting shot in the pinky toe would be pretty rough though, let's be honest. Now if there is one bad thing about the SA-58, it is that high recoil value, that side-to-side recoil, I guess, that it has. It does have quite a lot of side-to-side movement, so if you're not much for weapons who do have that sort of recoil pattern, then maybe the SA-58 might not be your most favorite weapon in the world. Other than that, though, you're pretty hard-pressed to find anything that's actually bad about the SA-58. It's a great weapon overall, and effective in any situation, really. As far as attachments go, I like to run the SA-58 with the Cobra optic mostly, because the less obstructed your view is, the easier it will be to track your targets when using this weapon. Like I said before, the SA-58 has some pretty nasty side-to-side recoil, and as a result, I find it can cause your tracking abilities a bit of grief. If you've got a big old black thing blocking a good proportion of your view, like the holographic sight or something similar, it makes things a little more difficult. So I like to use the Cobra optic because it's the least obstructive and it helps me see the most and track my targets easier. Beyond that, I really like the angled or folding grip because the SA-58 also has a pretty big first shot recoil multiplier. This grip combined with controlled burst firing makes the SA-58 so deadly in medium and long range engagements. For the barrel, you kind of have a few options. I would say go with the muzzle brake or the heavy barrel, as both of these will help with the recoil and accuracy of the SA-58 and make things just a lot easier to do. Now here I'm actually using a suppressor on the SA-58, and I didn't mind that so much, but I find the suppressor overall is not that useful in Hardline. That could be because without one, the SA-58 here has really great bullet speed. With one, it takes a major hit, and I don't know, I guess I just like my bullets getting where they need to go quicker. And I saved a special little part right at the end here just to talk about the extremely slim pickings when it comes to accessory choices for the battle rifles. What the heck, man? Literally, the only accessory worth using is the laser sight, and even that is like, nah, do I really need it? But no matter which way you slice it, when you get down to brass tacks, the SA-58 dominates the battlefield and is definitely one of the upper echelons of weapons in Battlefield Hardline. But what does the Scar H have to say all about this? Well, let's find out! Now let's check out what the Scar H is all about. This weapon should be no stranger to any FPS veteran, as it seems like it gets included in almost every single one, and it certainly is a staple of the Battlefield franchise. So the Scar H in Battlefield Hardline does its maximum damage of 43 inside 20 meters before damage begins to drop off, ending at 50 meters where it does its minimum damage of 25. Sounds a little familiar, right? Magazine size is 20 plus 1 in the chamber for 21 total, and the reload times are 2.4 seconds when empty and 1.9 seconds with a round still in the chamber. Rate of fire is 625 rounds per minute, and the bullet velocity is 410 meters per second. Recoil on the Scar H I would also put in the high category, but just to let you all know, it would be just a little bit under the SA-58 on that scale, so to speak. So after hearing the stats for both weapons, you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, these two weapons are essentially the same. The only difference between them seems to be that the SA-58 has the slight advantage in rate of fire and bullet velocity. Well, you're about 98% right, I guess. The SA-58 does hold the advantage in both of these categories, but there are two other subtle differences in these weapons that you might not have noticed. There is a slight difference between the reload times and the recoil values of these weapons that you might want to be aware of as well. The SA-58 has slightly faster tactical reload by 0.1 second, and the Scar H has the slightly faster empty reload by 1.1 seconds. Also, the Scar H has slightly less side-to-side recoil, while the SA-58 has slightly less upwards recoil. So I mean, the differences are negligible really, but I figure it's still worth mentioning because depending on which recoil direction you find easier to counter, those actually might have a slight effect on which of these weapons you choose to run with. One more positive of choosing the Scar H over the SA-58 is that it does have significantly less spread increase per shot, meaning you'll have an easier time with the Scar H when firing full auto. You should find it easier to stay on target with the Scar when in Rambo mode, so that's also something to take into consideration because if you're not a huge fan of burst firing, if you'd rather just hold that trigger down, baby, then maybe the Scar H is for you. So I like pretty much the exact same setup on the Scar H as I do on the SA-58, except for the optic. I personally feel like I can use a much wider range of optics with the Scar H rather than the SA-58. I don't even mind using a 3.4 times optic on the Scar, and I really don't like using the medium range optics that much on the SA-58. So that is definitely another thing the Scar has going for it, is the more vertical based recoil motion allows you to use a few different optics and even go for the medium range optics if you'd like. But I find it generally easier to control over the SA-58 because of this, and that is something that I definitely think balances out the scales on the Scar's side of things, it's overall more controllable. But now it is time to pick a winner, and for the first time in the series, and I know it's only the third episode, but for the first time in the series, I can barely decide. So I'm gonna need your help on this one, guys, and I think this is gonna be a new trend here. I keep going back and forth in my head between these two weapons, but personally, I think I'm gonna give it to the SA-58 by the slightest of hairs. And I really could have gone either way on this decision, so this is where I need your help. Please let me know which one you guys would have picked down in the comments below, and I will tally the votes and give you the quote-unquote fan choice award winner in the next episode. I think that's what I want to do from now on with this series. I'll pick my personal winner, then you guys rock the vote down below, I'll tally them up, and we'll see if I'm off my rocker or not. Then I'll announce the results at the beginning of the next episode. But that's gonna do it here this time on Hardline Head to Head with your buddy Griz. Whether or not you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you took the time to give it a rating, as it really helps me out in the search results. And you guys want to help me out, right? Come on. Like the video if you liked it, or dislike it if you thought it was trash. I really don't mind, but if you do go that route, I would appreciate some constructive feedback. Because if you just dislike it and don't give me a reason, I can't improve. And I want to improve for you guys if you're not liking what's going on. As always, if you're new around here and you liked what you saw, then please consider becoming my buddy and subscribe to the channel, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Grizno, and I will see you all next time.